clearly the main talking point from last night, Stu, aside from the grimly predictable defeat, was Omari Hutchinson. And Kieran came out after the game and, in his usual kind of balanced way, spoke about the situation quite eloquently. But it's certainly something that is a concern when it builds into the whole narrative around the club. So essentially, I'll read the quotes. It's important, I think, that you kind of hear them as they were. So, asked after the game about Omari, Kieran said he trained on Monday okay, and then felt he couldn't contribute today with the situation as it is. That was his decision. He made his desire to continue to play Premier League football if the opportunity is there. I think it's known how much care and empathy we have for him. He's a young player, 21 years old. It's not an easy situation to handle. There's different ways to handle the situation, and that seems to be more prevalent in modern football. Players getting advice in different directions. He's a very, very young player, so we have empathy for him. We'll try and guide him in the right way in terms of how to deal with situations. But so long as he's at the football club, we want him able to contribute and help the team on the pitch. In terms of the actual kind of state of play, he says there's not been anything that's changed the club's position yet. It's known that Omari had a buyout clause and his contract was active for a few months. There was no serious or appropriate offers in that time. Once that position is closed, it's the club's position to make the decision as they see fit. There hasn't been any interest or offer to change that position so far. So we'll see what the next few weeks bring. And then it was put to Kieran that, well, he's an Ipswich Town player. Surely it's up to you what happens with him. If you don't want him to go, he doesn't go. And then Kieran says, situations are never as simple as that. Of course, the club has their position. The player has his position. It's never as straightforward, especially when dealing with a young player here. We'll see what the next few weeks bring. So this is starting to become a bit of a mess, Stu, the Omari situation. Clearly, as Kieran says there, you have to have empathy. He's 21 years old. He's a kid. And you can't blame him, I guess, in a way, if he has an opportunity to play Premier League football and earn loads of money. Obviously, that's if I was 21, that's probably what I'd want to do. But there are ways of handling the situation, and choosing not to play is something that clearly creates an issue. I mean, if I rang up and said to you today, Stu, I don't fancy working today, you'd rightly be pretty annoyed with me. And also, I guess we have to add Nathan Broadhead into this, as you say, called in sick yesterday morning and clearly wants to leave. So these are worrying situations in terms of the players themselves, and B, the feeling around the club, and the I guess the mood in the dressing room and that kind of thing.
Yeah, how to address this one. I guess things are a little bit different in football because when we're trying to compare it to our normal workplaces, if I turned up at work, I'm not going to suddenly sprain my wrist and then not be able to make a mega money move to a rival. So these guys, I guess when he's talking about advice, Kieran, I would imagine that's coming from agents, plural. There seems to be a lot of people represented around these players, certainly at the top end of the game now, and they're probably saying, well, if you go and play, do you want to go to Bromley, get smashed by one of their giant centre halves, and then get injured and everything's off the table? It's not worth the risk. Our advice is for you to not play. Ipswich's point of view is we're paying you good money. You're on a long-term contract. You need to. We need you to contribute while we're light on numbers at a difficult part of the season. So I can kind of see it from all parties' point of view. Kieran, I think, is very much the man sort of stuck in the middle. You've got Mark Ashton and the ownership sort of putting their foot down and saying we're not going to be walked all over here. You've got Omari thinking, I'm a really ambitious player. I've had a taste of the Premier League. I've got a chance to go back there. I don't think they've been when Kieran talks about there hasn't been a serious offer on the table, I would argue there has been serious offers, because we know that bids have reached £35 million, which was the buyout, which was the relegation release clause. It was just the terms of the deal. I think it was them wanting Brentford in the first instance, wanting to spread it out over a long period of time. So I don't think they're a million miles away. It's going to be about payment terms, maybe extracting a few extra million on top of that 35. The question is it for Ipswich to kind of prove their point of getting the best possible deal for us and we're not going to be walked over? Is that worth it compared to all the angst of now sort of any ill feeling surrounding Omari, and
Mm.
more importantly, not having a lot of time to reinvest it before the transfer window shuts.